Let's go back to Preston Merchant and look at his collection of diaspora images. Preston, I believe you're back.
I'm going to share pictures from my project called India World, in which I've spent almost 20 years photographing the global Indian diaspora. Lots of different countries and lots of different themes, and we'll talk about these for about 10 minutes. I would start here with a picture from Williamsburg, Brooklyn in 2008. At the time, Williamsburg had become the hipster capital of America, and it was fascinating to me that Desi culture, second generation Indian American culture, had a role in creating that sort of youth culture movement that we associate with Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It was a small window for all this. The prices for rents became quite high after that, but I was proud to be able to photograph a bit in that space at the time. This is Sikh Appreciation Night at the Sacramento Kings game. There are Sikh farmers in the Sacramento area and the Central Valley of California that have been farming there for about 100 years. And the local NBA franchises wanted to attract a fan base that hadn't always been associated with basketball. And so having a Dole player at center court during halftime was a way to do that. This is Asif Karim, captain of Kenya's national cricket squad. I photographed him in 2007. He competed in the 99 and 2003 World Cups. Interesting to meet him and his family. He's now a property developer, but his sort of distinction in cricket, having been man of the match for a match he lost, but playing for a nation that did not support cricket the way a lot of the rest of the Commonwealth does, and is still able to do well in his career there. These are Sikh women who are picking blueberries on the outskirts of Vancouver in the town of Abbotsford. They work as agricultural support labor in these plantations that are owned oftentimes by Sikh investors and entrepreneurs. But they pick berries even though many of them are elderly, and they do so because they get to spend time with their peers. They can speak Punjabi, they can contribute financially to their families. Otherwise, they're living in suburbia, and this is a way that they can reduce their isolation and contribute. This is Ishita Malavia, who has the distinction of being India's first female professional surfer, with running a surf school in Manipal, and she was on a surfing safari and came to California, where I live now, and met some local surfers. This is from Woolgoolga, Australia, which is north of Sydney on the Gold Coast, in an area where Sikhs in the 1940s began taking up banana farming and have done so and been very successful at it, and built their temples and gurdwaras and other facilities, and are very prosperous there. In 2007, the India Tourism Board built a replica of the Taj Mahal in Bryant Park in New York to celebrate India's which was the 60th anniversary of independence. And there were cultural shows and other events there in Midtown Manhattan. Daisylicious was a South Asian themed LGBTQ event held monthly in New York for a time. I don't know if it's still going on, but part of the subculture and the culture expression of folks there. Surrey Fusion Festival. I'll share a few pictures here of Hema Ramaswamy, who at the time was living in Middletown, New Jersey. She's a young woman with Down syndrome, and she's had a remarkable run of good events in her life. She and her date here, Justin Hagen, were crowned king and queen of their high school prom. You see them there with their crowns and enjoying their dance. Hema is also an accomplished dancer. Her aunt in Chennai is a teacher and was part of her education. And Hema here is practicing to give a performance of Bharatanatyam in Chennai. This is on a rooftop in Basant Nagar. And she gave a performance there, and then we went out to the beach to photograph her in her costume with her makeup. I wanted to capture a bit of what Chennai looks like on the beach there. with her and her accomplishments. She's thought to be the first Indian American woman with Down syndrome to have completed an Arangetram. And her family is in Texas now, and here she is in the center. These are her cousins and her nieces, and she's there with 4 generations of family celebrating one of her niece's birthdays. There is a high school out here in the Bay Area, south of San Jose, in the town of Watsonville, called Mount Madonna School. And it's an outgrowth of a yoga center that was founded by an Indian holy man in the 70s as a yoga center. And the school has put on for the last 40 odd years a production of the Ramayana, in which the entire school body has a role on stage at some point with costumes and dance and music. And it's a rather remarkable presentation that I've enjoyed photographing every year. Another scene from that Ramayana musical, the monkey army here. I believe this is Sugriva here in the Che Guevara t-shirt. Some of the music and the lyrics are consistent with a Marxist theme, power to the people. The monkeys espousing this here on the stage. And of course, Ravana, one of the students had adapted the music, taking some cues from Hamilton to produce a sort of rap monologue that Ravana would give at one point in the show. And this is that character doing that. In the Caribbean, Trinidad, I photographed in a fishing village there. There are Indians in the Caribbean who had worked as indentured laborers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and their descendants are still there, of course. South Asians for Obama event in New York on the Upper East Side in 2008. He was Senator Obama then, and you'll notice that his hair is still sort of dark and not gray. Moving to Brighton in the United Kingdom. This is the Royal Pavilion, which was built as a seaside residence for several monarchs, including Victoria. And it did serve as a military hospital during World War I. And there were taking care of wounded from the rest of the empire, including lots of soldiers from India. And a few more pictures from Britain. A filmmaker that I met, Aryan Singh. The batter for pakoras made into snacks, mass production in South Hall. And this is the Lord Mayor of Leicester. Manjula Sood was the first woman South Asian to attain this title in Britain. Not every town has a Lord Mayor. Most have regular mayors, but there are 10 or so Lord Mayors of Britain. And they are the first citizen of their communities, sort of ambassador, spokesperson, meeting with constituents. They do a lot of the serving as the face of their communities. Back to Brooklyn, continuing my theme of the sort of Desi culture that was out there in Williamsburg. Some houses in South Africa near where Gandhi had set up his Phoenix settlement near Durban. A cricket camp in Dubai. The Pagua Parade, which is the Caribbean community, those folks from Guyana and Trinidad, they call Holi. They refer to it as Pagua. And on the streets of New York, they play Holi with the colors and the powder. And a scene from one of the United Arab Emirates, Al Quwain, which is up, about a couple hours from Dubai. But we know Dubai for its glamour and glitz and big buildings and rather elaborate amusement parks. And there's some smaller ones in the other Emirates that cater to the local communities. The Miss India Teen Georgia pageant in Atlanta a few years ago. I'm going to jump ahead to some things here and we'll bring this to a conclusion. I wanted to show you some pictures from California. This is on Hollywood Boulevard at the Guinness Book of World Records Museum with an animated Sikh character beckoning everyone to come in. And some models at a video shoot here in the Bay Area. The Watsonville School, the Mount Madonna School, does a Navratri every year in which the crowd fires arrows into a image of Ravana. And the last two pictures I'll show, there was a military veteran named Parminder Singh Shergill who had suffered from a mental illness and was having an episode, and the police came and he apparently challenged them with a knife, and he was killed by the police. There was an investigation and the police were exonerated, as often happens, but he was buried with military honors, and I attended the funeral here, and you can see his mother. She's being given the flag from a serviceman for her fallen son, of course, all of her community and family members around her. And then this final picture is his funeral procession, the American flag, and then, of course, all of the many generations of Indian Americans who are bearing him in tribute. So I think I'll end there, and I thank you for your time and attention, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.